Hello, everybody. I clearly did not realize I was live until somebody joined me. Welcome to the Christel Crawford Show. This is going to be the most unedited vlog style Christel Crawford show in history so far, and I called this week's episode Clearing My Space of Entities. I have never done this before where I got on live and cleared and communicated and received from entities. So this is also the most undefined Christel Crawford show that I've ever chosen. But I have an entities class coming up in 2 days, and I do these all the time. So you are more than welcome. And I just came through the Talk to the Entities Advanced and Facilitators training. So this reality is alive in my world in a very different way. I also wanted to take you through this process because this is a very, very beautiful space. The reason I say that is that you could go to conclusion and make yourself wrong if when you enter a very, very beautiful space, it feels like shit. So the first thing I want to tell you is that you're never wrong, you're always aware. Now, because I've been playing with these Talk to the Entity tools for a while now, and I'm a facilitator of the tools, it is very much more in my awareness that the things that I'm aware of could possibly be entity activity. And what I'm going to take you through is by no means a comprehensive, this is how you clear spaces education, because Shannon has done a specialty class called Clearing Spaces and Houses, and I was re-listening to it briefly before this episode, and I'm forgetting half of the tools that you can use to clear spaces. But regardless, I still do use tools that work, and so those are the ones I want to show you. Now, first of all, let's turn the AC up because I'm already sweating. So this is an Airbnb condo that I'm staying in Panama. We are on the 47th floor of one of the most elegant buildings in Panama City. The view is stunning, etc. So we had stayed in another apartment very similar to this when we first arrived. We got here much earlier than we thought, and another apartment very similar to this one was available, and we stayed in that. That apartment had a very, very spacious and light energy to it. So when I walked into this condo, my first sense of it was it was darker and smaller. Now, it turns out that this apartment is actually a meter squared smaller, so that's true. But what's interesting about a small space is if the space is clear of entities and clear of other activity, it doesn't really matter how small it is, it's going to feel bigger. So I asked myself if what I was aware of was simply that the space was smaller, and I got no. Now, when you are going after and looking for what you're truly aware of, that's when you're going to ask a question. Questions aren't for getting answers, they're for getting awareness of what you're aware of and that you're aware, okay? So, what I want to play with, what I'm going to show you today is an active participation on your end of how you could use your skills of perceiving and your skills of receiving and your skills of being and your skills of knowing to transform and transmute energies. Entities are disembodied beings. They're not scary. They just are. Even though the spectrum of entities runs the gamut, just like people, you have the same entity spectrum that you do of people. So you've got asshole entities, loud entities, shy entities, quiet entities. You've got people entities. You've got other entities that don't have people sort of bodies, etc. So there's a whole spectrum, and we go into all of that in the class. I forget why I was telling you that now. Even though there's a whole spectrum, there is nothing or nobody that is actually scarier than you. So what we're going to practice in this exercise is being scary and not scared. So the first thing that I'm doing as I'm walking around is I'm perceiving what I perceive in the room, okay? And actually you can do this right where you are. You don't have to have a visual representation. So if you're listening to this in the future, you can actually do this retroactively or in the space that you're in if you want to play with that. But I simply put my attention on the room. Now, as I put my attention on this particular room, I'm aware that there is a being in this corner. And I became aware of a different being over here. Why they're near the windows, I don't have any information. This particular being is beheaded, and this particular being is a what and not a who. We'll deal with that in a second. So another really interesting thing, though, I'm noticing is that since we've been here 2 days, it already feels bigger. And one of the things I wanted to add to this conversation, in addition to what we're about to do, is that as you inhabit or be in a space, the space changes. The energy is, energy is the reality. Space is the reality. All the heavy and dense and feelings and all that other stuff, that's not actually true and real. And you are energy and space and consciousness. Even if you're buying lies and all wrapped up in some dramatic shit, you are energy and space and consciousness. And so the space that you are will affect and does affect the space around you. So the other thing I've noticed getting into this show today, because I had the idea for the show 2 days ago, is that since we've been here for 2 days, the space is already bigger and changed. And what I'm aware of is that the space that we are and what we choose as beings has already affected it. So right now, today, there's less to actively clear, and more what's required is something else. So let's go over here to this corner, and we'll play with, and not that we have to go over physically to where the being is, but only to give you a visual representation of what we're going to be doing, okay? So you can just, besides the incredible view, tap into that corner. Now, first of all, don't make yourself wrong if you perceive nothing. Like if all you see is a nice green plant and a view and that's all you get, that's fine. But notice what you notice. And this is what we do a lot more of in the beginning class. It's like we get you to start to perceive what you notice, okay? So see if you notice anything. If you notice or perceive something, notice where you perceive it in your body. So for me, a lot of my awareness and perceiving shows up here, which is interesting just physiologically because your thymus is the root and the seat of all awareness. And this is a lot of what got shut off over the lifetimes. We just cut off our awareness. And this is actually the seat of awareness. So physiologically, it actually makes sense that it would show up here. But all perceiving, all receiving, all knowing occurs from your chin down. All thinking, all figuring out, all trying to do the how, all that happens from your chin up. That's all your mind. Your mind is useless when it comes to perceiving, knowing, being, receiving, and communicating with entities, okay? So again, notice where you notice, what you notice, that you notice, or notice if it's nothing. None of that's wrong. And what we're going to do now is take you through an exercise of what's required. Meaning, in the world of entities, there are 4 primary articulated tools right now. One of them is clearing. One of them is communicating. One of them is receiving. And one of them is cooperating. So what we want to discover with this being here is what's required. So truth, is it clearing that's required, yes or no? No. Truth, is it receiving that's required, yes or no? No. Truth, is it communicating that's required, yes or no? Yes. Okay, cool. So when I said I got a sense of this being, the immediate sense was that he was like holding his head. But let me take you through some of the questions that you can ask when you're communicating. And in the beginning class, we give you a flow chart and take you through a pretty definitive pathway that you can practice that will get you sort of more, that will begin to develop your muscle of communicating with entities. But I'm going to take you through what occurs to me to ask. Okay, so truth, is this being a male or a female? Male. Now, what you're going to notice when you do start to be willing to have your awareness of entities, and by the way, everybody has awareness of entities. They've just either shut it off or negated it or refused it. We all have it. We just have it in different ways. And the art of entity and spirit awareness has been lost. So what we are restoring, what I'm restoring to the earth is the lost art of spirit work, okay? So why I said that, because when I actually did walk into this space initially and get the sense of the beings, or what is this? What is everything here? And I got a sense of this being, I immediately got the sense of him being male. I didn't have to ask. It was just, oh yeah, he's male. It was just obvious. And that's what will occur for you as well, as you will get an immediate download of all the things, especially the more you practice this, okay? In the beginning, it might feel clunky and you won't trust yourself. You'll go into doubt. But as you practice this and you get that this really is a thing and you can use it to transform things, you'll get immediate senses. So he's a male. He lost his head at some point, and interestingly enough, in this space on this end of the building. I can't explain that. But communication is what's required. So let's ask the second question, which is like, are you here? Let's see. I don't have the chart memorized, so I'm just gonna ask what occurs to me. So what I need to know in order to transform this, because he is hanging out on that side of the building until we communicate with him, is what does he require? And again, after I ask that question, what shows up is energy, a sense of something. Okay, cool. Do you require to, I'm talking to him now, do you require to communicate with somebody, yes or no? No. Do you require to be heard? Yes. Okay, cool. Do you require to have something cleared, yes or no? Yes. Okay, here's something interesting, is that entities can have PTSD just like people do, and as you guys see in the world, people die all the time from horrendous things, right? Accidents, wars, abuse. And they just simply, they cease being in their body. And if they have no facilitation, any entity who hasn't moved on to get another body is here for a handful of reasons. In this particular case, it's that he's stuck in a time, he's stuck. He doesn't know how to facilitate himself out of this moment. And entities can get stuck in PTSD moments, and they can get stuck in drug and alcohol moments, okay? So all the trifolds, so this is how you handle it, and I might be forgetting something, but the details are in the manual, so we'll go through them in class if you want to join us. But the gist of the energy of it is all the PTSD systems, all the trifold sequencing systems, and everything that's holding any and all of the trauma in place in his world, let's destroy and uncreate it all. Right, wrong, good, bad, pod, poc, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. Again, if you're new to this stuff, it's weird and true. You can go to theclearingstatement.com to get information on that statement. Okay, I'm already sensing much more ease in his world. Yeah, like the PTSD is like, the sense of it is it's leaching out. And what will start to occur when you identify the what in an entity's world and you address it and you facilitate it, will be this lightening of the space. That's when you can perceive that the energy's moving. And that's what happens with these entities that don't have bodies anymore, that are stuck to a building or something, is they got stuck in a moment where they didn't know they had another choice. And so with every entity clearing, we are facilitating them to know they have choice. Same as we would people. Okay, cool. So truth, is that all, yes or no? No. Okay, cool. Something else is required. So I'm just going to be, what can I be for you? And the sense of it is that he's just downloading everything that happened and everything that occurred. That's how entities communicate, is in downloads of energy. It's like, they don't speak English, they speak energy. So that if you are willing to receive that energy, they can then sort of, it's like venting, they just get it off their chest, right? Okay, cool. Truth, would you like to go get another body now, yes or no? Yes. Okay, cool. So this is where we're going to clear. So truth, who are you? Truth, who were you before that? Truth, who were you before that? Truth, who were you before that? Truth, what's your job? Truth, what was your job before that? 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 Ah. Truth, what was your job before that? And truth, what are you? Truth, what were you before that? 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 And truth, who will you be in the future? You can take all your magnetic imprinting and you can go now. Right, wrong, good, bad, pod, poc, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. Okay, cool. Yeah. So after that process, what I'm perceiving is just a shift in the energy. It's like moving. And actually, I don't get he's still standing. Yeah, changed. We changed it. Cool. So that's as easy as that when it comes to a being. There is another being here. Of course, right next to the views. So you get the views with the beings. Yeah, cool. So there's a what being here. So cool. So we're just going to go through the same process. So truth, what's required with this being? And listen, guys, I know this is weird, and you're not going to perceive the same things that I perceive. And how does it get better than that? So I'm just taking you through my process, so maybe you can apply it to your spaces. Okay. Okay, cool. So truth, what's required? Clearing? No. Communicating? No. Receiving? Yes. Okay, now when you get that the entity tool required is receiving, it's so much easier than we want to know, okay? So what I really want to talk about this for a second, because I did get that this being was a what and not a who, and there are those beings. In fact, you could even ask yourself, are you a who or a what? Now, how many what beings in the world throughout all lifetimes have actually received, have actually been received? And how many what beings throughout all lifetimes have been persecuted and destroyed? Okay, cool. How many lifetimes were you persecuted and destroyed for the difference that you are? And how many of the oaths and vows and fealties and communities and commitments did you make to never being that difference again, so that you would never get destroyed again? And everything that is times a godzillion, will you destroy it and create it all? Right, wrong, good, bad, pop, poc, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. Okay, so I get receiving is what's required here. So we're gonna take a moment, and I want all of you to tap into this being if you haven't already, and simply lower your barriers, including thinking. Thinking is a barrier, it's a control. So if you're doing any thinking, push your head out. Thank you. And lower any barriers you might have up to the weirdness of this, the difference of this. You can close your eyes if you want to, feel your feet on the floor, and simply allow this being to be and receive everything that it has to say. Now we're all going to perceive something different here. What I'm perceiving is this incredible gentleness and kindness, and in this very lumpy what of a being, right? Like he's not beautiful, and interestingly enough, you guys, he wasn't here when we first came. He showed up today. So this will also occur. The more you say yes to your abilities with entities, they will show up for facilitation and whatever facilitation they required. Did you know that receiving somebody is a facilitation? Did you know that none of us were received as beings? And then we decided that we were wrong because we were never received. So that's just continuing, and I only know because I keep sort of tapping into like, now, no, now, no. Okay, so another question pops up in my world to ask, and that is that, does this being require to be cleared, yes or no? No. Does this being desire to contribute, yes or no? Yes. Cool. So when a being desires to contribute, man, let them. What would it take to be willing to receive all the beings around you that desire to contribute to you, support you with their presence and with their energy? And everything that doesn't allow that times a godzillion, we destroy and create it all. Right, wrong, good, bad, pop, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. Wow, cool. So what's really interesting about that for me is that the energy then got greater and wider instead of so specific, and now he's willing to be more a part of every molecule rather than a specific energy. So that's cool. Okay, now what I want to do now is just put my attention on the rest of the space and perceive and ping any other entities in here who would like to be cleared. Truth, are there other entities in here who would like to be cleared, yes or no? Yes. Okay, cool. So here's how we do that. We just go, truth, guys, who are you? Truth, who were you before that? 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 Truth, what was your job? Truth, what was your job before that? 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 Ah! And truth, who will you be in the future? You can let go of all, please take all your magnetic imprinting, and you guys can go now. Right, wrong, good, bad, POD, POC, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. Now, the other thing I want to just tap into or check in with is truth. Are there any demons are there any demons present? Yes or no? Yes. Okay, so the way to clear demons is go back to from whence you came, never to return to me, my body, this building, this city, or this reality. Go back to from whence you came, never to return to me, my body, this building or this city, and this reality ever again. I'm adding a couple things. Right, wrong, good, bad, pop, all nine shorts, boys, bands. Go back to from whence you came, never to return to us, this building, this city, ever again. And everything that is times a godzillion. Right, wrong, good, bad, pop, all nine shorts, boys, and bands. Okay. Now, the other thing I want to do for this space is I want to clear all the projections, expectations, separations, judgments, and rejections that the space is holding. Right, wrong, good, bad, POD, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. All of the projections, expectations, separations, judgments, and rejections. Right, wrong, good, bad, POD, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. And then all the molecules in the building, in the space that have not been allowed to be what you can truly be, destroy it and create all that. Right, wrong, good, bad, POD, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds, and anything that doesn't allow the space to know how grateful I am for it, and anything in my world that doesn't allow me to receive how grateful the space is for me, I destroy and create all that. Right, wrong, good, bad, POD, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. What energy, space, consciousness, and choice can me and my body be to be a beyond this reality gift and to receive beyond this reality with total ease? And everything that doesn't allow it, right, wrong, good, bad, POD, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. Okay. You, by being willing to know and perceive and receive that entities exist, become the gift that very few are willing to be. And you can change things. You can change energies all the time with people, in spaces, in cities. And so, what would it take to never be at the effect of any energy? I'll wrap up with this, that yesterday we are going to we sign a lease on an apartment in this building. It's actually one floor above us. It's on the edge. It's so bright and so spacious and so light. But we looked at about 4 or 5 different apartments yesterday in this same building, and it was crazy how different the energy was in each one. And there was one in particular that I walked into and decided we had to take it because it was the only one available that was like this model. So whenever you go into decision, that's never your brightest choice. But I wanted to take it and didn't want to take it because the energy in that particular model was incredibly dense and heavy. And I get now that we needed to clear smoke entities and actually, do some work there. But that was the thing. If we were going to take that apartment and it was going to be easy on my body, I was going to have to do some work. And so I state that because it's, we can either be at the effect of what is, or we can be the affect. We can affect things. You can actually change things. And not from, I want to get rid of this, from, it's not going to work for me that I live in a world that's heavy. So what do I need to be aware of to create the reality that works for me? And for me personally, the reality that works for me is a reality that is like energy and space and consciousness. And so to have that as my reality, I have to include entities in my awareness because they exist. There's actually more disembodied beings on the planet than there is embodied beings. But I don't have to be at the effect of that information. I get to know it, and I get to transform it, and I get to transmute it by having access to the tools to do that. So, if you find yourself, there's all kinds of entity awareness symptoms, including moods and foggy eyesight and headaches and body pains and skin conditions. And the list is pretty endless. Feeling suicidal, depressed, acute conditions, chronic, what's the word I'm looking for? Autoimmune diseases. All of those can be entity awareness sicknesses. And when we negate entity awareness, we actually create psychic sickness. So my target with everything about this work is to make this conversation visible. We cannot be hunted for witchcraft anymore. We get to be as different as we are, and we never have to be at the effect of anything. So if you are currently at the effect and you want to change that, or if you are just aware that adding this art to your life would make it greater, you're more than welcome to join me in one of my classes. I have the next one in 2 days, and I have classes going all the time. So how does it get any better than this? What would it take? What energy, space, and consciousness can we in our bodies be to shift, change, transform, and transmute all energies with ease? I adore you. See you soon.